Tonight, we speak to the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Honorable whose docket sometimes superintends over Uganda's economy to provide answers to the many unanswered questions regarding our economy. Honorable Matia Kasaija, thank you very much for honoring our invitation. A warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Patrick.
You are now giving us a budget 2019-2020.
Correct.
The last time I checked, the second biggest item on our budget in the last year was interest payment for the loans that we acquired. Where does the problem of the debt now lie in today's budget or in this year's budget?
First of all, good evening, viewers. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to clarify a few things on the economy. We don't normally have such occasions because we don't have the time to look for them. The interest, the question, let me answer one question clearly. The problem is not borrowing. No. Every country, all over the world, everybody borrows. The question is, to what use do you put that money? Do you put it to productive activities or you don't? So to me, my interest rate, I'm not worried at all, because most of the borrowing, we are putting it into productive activities, things like infrastructure, roads, putting it electricity generation and the transmission distribution. We are putting it in education to have your capital manpower. We are putting it in ICT. Now, those sectors, if once they have been put in place properly, they make what we call doing business.
Let me put it this way, Honorable Matia Kasaija. I think I haven't started in the best way I should have, because we want you to give us some kind of a preamble on how we are working today as far as the economy is concerned. Not long ago, you said at a press conference that our economy is on the rise, the famous move.
Yes.
That you even demonstrated. How do you justify a growing economy to Ugandans who are sleeping sometimes on empty bellies, struggling with the businesses, and failing to access the basics of life?
Okay, thank you very much. The economy in general is moving, there's no question about that. Last year we grew up at a rate of 6%. This coming financial year we think, no, this financial year we think we shall grow at 6.3%, and thereafter we may grow to 7-8%. But the problem is that the growth may not cover everybody. So we must make a distinction between macro and micro. You see, you, Patrick, in your own home, you may not be growing, but that does not mean the economy generally is not growing. What explains that one? It explains on what activity you are doing. If you are, either you have a job or you are doing some activity that is giving you income. But there are people who either have no job or they just don't do anything. Or they are doing their business not in a professional manner. I'm sorry to say that, not in a professional manner. And that business is having problems. You start a business, you don't know where your market is going to come from. And then you know where the market is coming from, but circumstances reach in the middle somewhere, they need you to adjust. Now, if you don't adjust, then you have a problem.
So what you're telling me that, Honorable Matia Kasaija, a summation of a few individuals who have made it in life, and probably they are millionaires of American dollar millionaire type. And if you put them together, 10 or 20 people, if you aggregate what they have, then you can give us a figure of our economic growth. But that does not translate to the man in Buyanja who is probably finding it hard to get the basics of life. Because your figures are not felt by people in the villages across Uganda.
That's not Patrick, you're not right. You can ask my people in Buyanja. You can ask them. For anybody who is not feeling the effect of this economic growth, it means he has no activities. Is not involved in any productive capacity or activity. You go and see the villages. You can come to Buyanja, go and see what people are. They are feeling it very. They have nice road. They have good wood water. They have cultivated all the fields. The only challenge that we got was when the price of maize dropped from 1,000 shillings down to 300 shillings. That's the only period.
I have been able to visit some hospitals where people are struggling to find medicine. I've been to some hospitals where you find, well, they do not have the personnel that they would need in a hospital. So service delivery is still a problem, Honorable Matia Kasaija. Even if you're Minister of Finance, really, you should admit that service delivery is still a challenge in the government that you serve.
I agree, Patrick. There are now those are two different things. There is a question of growth of the economy and the service and delivery of services by government. I won't tell you, Patrick, we give money to all these entities. But you know the problem we have in our society. There's a lot of inefficiency, I must admit, in how certain things people are doing them. But now you cannot say the economy is not growing because somebody has failed to fulfill his obligation as a civil servant or a leader somewhere. There is no health facility to which I have not been giving money. Drugs, we supply. You can talk to NMS. We give them money. But I hear stories, that one you may have to ask the Minister of Health to explain. You hear stories that there are no drugs in hospitals. Then we wonder, we say, what is happening? That's not my docket. My docket is to look for money and give it as appropriated by Parliament. And we do it very, 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 very faithfully.
For the person who is involved in agriculture, he's going to depend on rain. He's going to depend on a chance.
Yes.
You have not given them water for production. You have not recruited many, extension workers for them to get professional help if they are getting into agriculture. Really, if agriculture is something that is going to drive us, even you as the Minister of Finance, you have not deployed enough resources into the sector of agriculture that you know, if you did that, it could give us a comparative and competitive advantage in the region that any other country cannot even compete with us.
I agree with you entirely, absolutely. The question, let me begin with the latter point, the extension service. We have recruited now for every sub-county a minimum of 2 extension service providers. We have provided them with motorbikes, and I have made sure this coming budget there will be money for fuel, so that there is no excuse that the extension service man or woman did not have fuel to move around and help the farmers. That's point number 1. Point number 2, irrigation. It is now our target. We have realized this one, we cannot depend on natural weather now. No. The way the environment has moved, we are shifting. And I can tell you, you'll hear from...
But you're telling us what you intend to do, I will hear. These things should have been done yesterday.
But in government, that's like in your home. You cannot handle the things at the same time. You have to go to take priorities. Now this has become, the circumstances of the environment has forced us now to look at this problem, because about 4 or 5 years ago, the question of the environment was not so much of attracting attention. Rains were falling normally, droughts were very rare, but now, as you have seen this season, I'm not so sure about this season what is going to happen. So now you shift, when you are running a government, you have to shift in accordance with the circumstances under which you are dealing with.
But do you as government realize that this sector needs serious attention, that if you did so, it would actually propel us to getting into the middle income status?
You mean the agriculture?
By the way, about 7 months away.
You mean the agriculture sector? Oh, yeah.
But you haven't. You haven't done so, Honorable Minister.
What do you mean we haven't? We have provided, I have borrowed for the sector. I am providing money for the wages of the workers. We have different sectors. Even talking about agriculture, there are a number of irrigation schemes. But the problem is that we have not had the capacity to cover the entire country. But we are working with some good international organization to manufacture and assemble. Just hold on. Let me finish my sentence.
Honorable Matia Kasaija, do not answer the question of the 1 acre model farm the president talked about. Those irrigation schemes, you have just expanded on Doho, on Ikibimba, on...
But you cut me short. Let me finish my sentence. We are working now tirelessly to make sure that solar-powered pumps, water pumps, are manufactured in the country. We have got 2 farms who should be setting their factories here in a given moment, and we want those pumps to be fairly cheap so that even a non-ordinary person, a 1 acre, the 2 acre person you're talking about, can afford. The biggest problem, though, the biggest problem, we Ugandans, we have handled certain things wrongly. We have settled in wetlands, we have cut forests. Consequently, some streams are drying up, and some rivers are getting silted. And even the geologists were telling me that even there is a drop now of the water level. There's, for example, what do you call them? Nikon, boreholes, which usually to produce water, now they cannot produce water. That's where the challenge is. And this applies, now I'm glad you give me this opportunity. Please, I'm appealing to you, my fellow Ugandans, let's look at our environment with a different eye now.
Now, the people you represent in Buyanja, or even could be in any other sub-county, maybe like Muchwini or Nagongera or Ndizi sub-county, tonight, if they had supper, they have had it prepared using either charcoal or biofuel. What alternatives have you given them as a government so that they can get away from wood and charcoal, which is depleting our forest cover, which in a way also is depleting our water resource?
The biggest problem we have had as far as depletion of forests is not so much the firewood. No. The biggest problem is people wanting to do extensive farming by cutting forests. I can produce, if we can produce the same amount of food, even more food, if we can improve on our technology, even in a smaller
So
piece of
you
land.
don't find it prudent, Honorable Minister, that people who, to give them clean and affordable energy for their cooking needs is also as important?
Oh, no, it's important. I'm coming to that. But I was answering the question because the way you're asking the question, you think that this environment has been destroyed. That means cutting down forests and even settling in wetlands. Bear that in mind. Because people need a modern source of fuel. I agree with you entirely, absolutely. That's why we are trying to take electricity as far as we can. Now there's a program to take electricity up to every sub-county. And eventually we are now even got a loan where we are now connecting people free, connection free, in the rural areas particularly. The issue then now is to get the equipment that these people can use. So it is a process, it cannot be done overnight.
We have followed the case of, for example, a forest in Zoka, in West Nile. There's a gentleman called William Amanzuru. He has created a group called the Friends of Zoka. In fact, the forest has been depleted by government officials, people who are in big positions, in positions of authority. So the danger to our forests is actually not by peasants, but people who have means and in power.
Well, Patrick, that may be the case for Zoka, but it's not the same as other forests. There is a forest in my constituency called the Kangombe. It has not been destroyed by government officials. It has been destroyed by people, by the Wananchi. You know Kangombe? But it stretches
the people who are destroying major forests, they are doing it at an industrial scale. No peasant does that.
I am not aware. I'm told you. I can quote what I know. There is a forest called Kangombe in Kibale district. It stretches all the way from Vende up to Kyegegwa. No, beyond even up to Kenjojo. That forest is almost gone because people invaded it. Some are Ugandans, some are non-Ugandans, and now the forest is down. But government now has taken a very firm step to have it restored. People have been kicked out, but we need
but you know, the problem, the challenges of Kibale include some immigration that has been, in most cases, illegal. Some people are saying are even foreigners that have come to Kibale. Others may not be foreigners, but they have been bussed in by some people. Years back, they were bussed in by people in political positions from different regions. This, they descended on Kibale and they have destroyed it under your watch.
Yes, I can't deny that they have not come. I don't know. The people I know, most of them are Ugandans who moved from other parts of Uganda where land is a big issue, and they found big chunks of land in that place of Bunyoro. But
migration is okay, and I'm okay if people come in because if there's a willing seller and there's a willing buyer. But if there's a political heavyweight who is going to bust them in, that is seriously not acceptable. And that happened many years back, and you know it caused a lot of trouble.
Yes, it is, but still the question whether people have been moved, because people were never moved to go and settle in the forest. No. No. There is no scheme that really took over forests, except maybe in Buganga there is some little forest that, which I think the government was not even aware that was a forest reserve. But for that forest I'm talking about, Kangombe, it was a huge forest reserve, maybe about some 20,000 something square kilometers, something like that. People just came. People even around the villages, they simply came and started cutting down the forest to plant maize.
But why would the Honorable Minister, with your clout, also be agonizing with us that the forest has been depleted also under your watch in your area?
You know, the government, we play, you know, government, you see, it's like these hands of mine here. Each one plays its role. I have made my submission on this to everybody that needs to take action. Now they are just waking up.
So you are frustrated by your own government?
On that issue? On that issue? On forest, on forest destruction, I would say so. On forest destruction.
You are a senior cabinet minister.
Yes.
You have ministers in charge of environment and forest and all that. And you are frustrated because they have not protected the major forest in your area.
Somebody somewhere.
Why would you even accept that to happen? You sit every Monday in a cabinet.
I have let me repeat, I have said this, I've conveyed this message to whoever must hear it. I can tell you that. I have said it to whoever should hear that message. Ask me another question.
No, because you have capacity to deny them resources. You are the one who's giving them a budget. You have so many, you have leverage over them.
No, I cannot deny a sector money because I will also be accused of making things worse. I think the issue is sensitization. Somebody to sensitize somebody and say we are doing something wrong here, we are not taking the steps which we should take, please let's move. And even I would share maybe that blame, although not quite, because I have talked. Then people turned it into politics. This man does not want us. This man does not want people who are not from Bunyoro. You know, it became even I think one election, I really had a very hard time to explain that the issue is not a question of denying you usage of land, but you are cultivating in the wrong place. I have done my best. You can ask that. I've done my best.
All right, sir. On infrastructure development, we for the last many years we have put a lot of emphasis on building our infrastructure, which perhaps is a good thing, I suppose. Very soon,
don't suppose, absolutely.
Yeah, very soon we're going to have a surplus of maybe 1,000 megawatts of power if Karuma comes on board and other small hydro power station come on board. But now the people are not using power. Is expensive. That's one thing, and if 1,000 megawatt surplus comes, it will just be redundant capacity we're not using, but we're paying for it. Because we have already signed agreements and concessions to build these dams, we'll be paying for the power that we're not using. Doesn't that pain you?
Of course, it pains me as a man in charge of the treasury. I would like that this power is utilized, and we are doing everything to make sure that this power is utilized. One loan which I borrowed from, or I intend to borrow from China, is to take this power throughout the country, particularly reach every sub-county of this country. The purpose for that is to make sure that this power is consumed. That's one. Two, we are almost launching, even this weekend, I think, or next week, we are going to launch another 4 or 5 factories around the country. So these factories, that power, let me tell you, Patrick, that power which we are now producing is if we stopped there, we will not be able to sustain our industrial program. Because, let me give you a case. The Usukuru phosphate factory in Tororo will consume virtually all the power that we are producing now at Isimba. So, one thing, the way we are trying to solve that, the question of consumption of power, let me summarize it. One, distribute the power and take it to all areas where the power is required, including people's homesteads, those who can afford it, or those who have got houses that can be allowed, in which we can take power. Two, industries. And we are working on that. We are
So now
working
if
on
you,
national
if
we are
you
working on
connect,
parks,
if you
industrial
connect
parks.
all these rural homes, because power now is only at 23, coverage is about 23%,
About percent.
right? And so the other 77% have not been reached. So we still have a long way to go. But even where you have taken power, where the wires are going over people's humble dwellings, I mean, they cannot use it for anything productive. Maybe you can use it for lighting, but they will only be lighting their poverty.
Don't you think it's nice for somebody to get rid of a tadoba? I hope you understand what a tadoba means.
Yeah.
The small candle. I studied it when I was doing my primary and even second education. I was reading on that tadoba. It's very painful in the eyes and whatnot. The very moment they can afford to get to, even if you put 2 bulbs in the home, it's celebration. It's celebrating activity. The children can, the mother can prepare a meal and eat beyond 7 o'clock. The children can read and study up to maybe 11 o'clock, whatever the case may be. To me, that's already a liberation.
Yeah, but if you connect them, Honorable Matia Kasaija, which is a good thing, after the power that you have given them initially, the next month or the second, they won't be able. The power.
They will not be able, depending, as I've told you, depending on what economic activity they are involved in. I've told you, Patrick, there is nobody in Uganda today, and I have done my research very well. Anybody who is involved in any economic activity, be it growing chicken, being a pigeon, being what, being a carpenter, being a welder, definitely that person is earning money, is earning an income. Don't forget the population is increasing, but at the same time, even incomes are increasing. Not for everybody, I know it very well, I must admit, but incomes are increasing.
So, yes, the population is increasing at almost 3% per annum?
Yeah.
And that means we are adding 1 million children every year on our population.
Yes.
How many jobs are we creating?
Jobs we are creating for sure, but they may not be in tandem with the needs of these children who are graduating from various institutions. But that's why we are saying now the main source of jobs is not coming from where it is not going to come from agriculture, it will come from industries. That's why we're setting up 22 industrial parks. That's why we are encouraging the state actors to ensure that we reduce the cost of doing business so that Ugandans can get into more commerce, can get into more industry, and including foreigners. With industries, we would be able to absorb many of those younger people. I will give you one case, Kapeka. There is the industrial park of Kapeka.
They're making tiles and all this kind of thing.
Thank you. That tile, have you had a chance to go there? I would invite. In fact, I would invite many Ugandans. Go and see. One single factory. You know how many employees? 10,000. One single factory producing those tiles. And the beauty about it, about 95 or 96% of the raw materials are made here in Uganda. So the people who are working on the raw materials, they are earning money. The people who are turning those raw materials into their tiles and other finished products, they are making money. So the solution of really trying to solve our problem of unemployment lies squarely in industrialization. That's why the budget...
But you also know, Honorable Matia Kasaija, that you can have industries, but we can have some kind of growth. But that growth can also be jobless growth. Apart from the case of Kapeka that you're telling me, is nowadays industries are getting automated. They're not having so many people to work in industries. There is somebody here who has a modern maize mill. Mm-hmm. I'm told it is almost 70 or 80% automated. Even people who are driving cars nowadays, you just can't go and sit on a stage and wait for people to come. People are using applications and all this kind of stuff. So even the special hire guy is maybe pulling a chair and sleeping in his own because technology has overtaken them.
No, technology is good. I recently came back from Washington the annual meeting, what we call the spring meetings of the World Bank and IMF, we discussed this question of automation. Is it going to render more people jobless or not? The answer was no, because you can now do many things faster. There will be need of certain skills. You get me? We will produce more volumes of goods. When you produce more volume of goods, there will be more requirements of various other services to ensure that actually the labor, the force is absorbed. So automation per se is not going to render us more, to give us more unemployment.
Let me give you an example. I come from a tea growing area of Toro. Back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, people would come, even from within Toro and outside of Toro, to come and pluck tea. You know, in tens of thousands on a big tea plantation. Today, people have brought in machines called the shears, including other machines that are big, can take about 8 lanes or even 2. So one person can harvest kilograms of tea that could have been harvested by over maybe 30 people.
Right.
Yes, and that has happened already in an industry that is for peasants at that level. The machines have taken over. You have to go to Toro Kahuna Tea Estate and see what is happening, and other estates. So, and the managers, I'm sure, are happy, because if you have a machine that can be able to do work for over 30, 40 people in a village, then there's some growth, yes, but it's a jobless growth.
Now, that leads to a question of efficiency. Efficiency may lead the factor to expand acreage. And who is going to expand that acreage? These people who have.
But that's a one-off, Honorable Matia Kasaija. You
I'm taking.
You get people to till the land, and that's it. But
yes,
when it's grown,
I'm taking your case. I'm taking your case to demonstrate that even with that new technology, it does not necessarily that everybody will be thrown out of a job. The only trick is maybe retooling, because somebody may have been using a hoe. Now he has got to use a machine, all right? Then now he must be taught how to use the machine. To me, I say that's the only challenge. Somebody to move from one job to another and have the relevant skill for that particular job.
Honorable Matia.
And this has happened all over the world.
Honorable Matia Kasaija, we're going to take a break. When we come back, let's look in the area of skilling. We'll be right back. Back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guest tonight is Honorable Matia Kasaija, the Minister of Finance, and we're discussing the state of Uganda's economy. You just said before we went to break that some of these workers need to retool themselves, get more skills. But how is the sector of education doing? And I'm sure you're giving it money, but are you giving them money also to change the curriculum, to give skills to these learners so that they can go and work in these industries that you say will be coming soon? Because the industries will need people who are skilled. But I don't think our education is preparing us to that kind of those kind of jobs.
That's fairly true. But first of all, you have to give them basic education. So our UP program is doing well, but with challenges like anything in life. Then the technical institutions are also doing very well. We are churning out to various types of people in these technical jobs. The employers themselves, I have had dealings with some employers who take out some of these new recruits to go and learn new tricks and new techniques of how to carry out their jobs. So the program of skilling Ugandans, in my view, is moving on very well. But the problem is to get people interested to be trained, because that's also a challenge. Our history here, especially people of my age and your age, we thought that using your hands is not something that is highly respected, but I'm glad to say now these days people have realized that actually using hands can earn you more money than using just you're using your brain.
But our education system, for which you're allocating money every year, is it really moving into training, to do, instead of training just to know? Training to do, preparing, education, if I may say, education to do, not just education to know.
To know. Yes, I think so. We have got various institutions of learning, as you know. We have technical colleges. We have got our normal Makerere University College, teach you economics, they will teach you engineering, they will teach you all sorts of things. But
for us to raise a critical mass of people who are skilled, don't we need to start skilling people at a lower grade?
But that's
so that by the time,
but that's what is happening in all of these technical institutions. And the policy of government is to have a technical institute per constituency, except money has not yet allowed us to do so. And when we get money, this technical institution will be put up virtually maybe in another 2, 3, or 5 years. And there's children who may not, because you see, you also have to be very careful. You can't force somebody into something which he doesn't want. Some fellows would long to continue with academics. Others can say, no, let me divert. And I've seen it. Even some people have graduated, but because of lack of a job, as a person who has got just theoretical knowledge, they have gone back to get
other
trained.
countries, why can't you do benchmarking and take some maybe solution for other countries where you, as government, can send university graduates to go and work in different industries, and then you can pay the employers, maybe give them some kind of tax rebates or maybe give them some incentives. But you have our young people do some kind of apprenticeship, and then you give an incentive, let's say, to an industry, and then they get some skills.
But skills, no, I don't think I would propose that we send people randomly to go and get skills. You must help them to get skills that are relevant, and the best way to do that is to get these new entrants on the labor market to get specialized training by the employer themselves, because the employers know exactly what they want. But of course, I've told you that there are also general like Kigumba, that one we are training people who will work in the oil industry. Some technical colleges, they are training people how to become masons. They are training people to become carpenters and so forth. Junior electrical fitters and so forth. That is going on fairly well, as far as I'm concerned. But of course, as I've said, the facilities are not enough for everybody who wants to go. But I've told you the program is to put one technical college per constituency.
Is government considering to maybe bring something like national service? Probably somebody after senior 6, before you go to university, maybe do 1 year, maybe get into a skilled kind of an area where you gain some skills. Then you can continue with education. But these 2 years, you've done some national service, and I know some people may not be happy with me for talking about something like this. But then, so that you have a critical mass of people who are not only are going to go continue with the office work and their studies, but they are also skilled, and that is within the government plan and the government strategy of skilling people. Instead of looking at graduates, and then you do what I'm hearing now called retooling.
Well, Patrick, if someone is angry with you because you have said, me, I would be very happy if, for example, A-level leavers, before they go to university, they go and do, first of all, what I would call ideological orientation.
No, you're bringing in politics.
No, ideology is not politics, please.
Yeah, well,
it's not politics. It is when you love your country, that politics. You see, there is maybe now ideology. Somebody may understand that you either now Kasaya is talking about people to love NRM. No, to love your country, whatever party you belong to, whatever region you belong to. I have seen in my experience of work now, there are people who have just no love for their country.
Let me tell you.
You see some
I
guy.
was downtown watching television when Cheptegei won us gold. People just hugged each other, and Ugandans and everybody was just involved, and they're in love with their country.
Beautiful.
And they're happy.
Beautiful.
When Nzukuru did us proud in the Commonwealth Games, Ugandans went beyond tribes and nationalities. When Kiprotich did us proud, or even our Uganda cranes, or all the she cranes, Ugandans love their country. Ugandans love their country always. I don't think you really need to teach them to love their country.
Let me ask you a question. Why do we have war promoters? Why do you get somebody go and steal government money?
War promoters, for example, I suppose
No.
in the 80s when President Museveni went to the bush, he was not a war promoter. He loved his country.
Yes.
Because he saw
but
things were going
wh-
astray.
Because there was a need at that time.
Yeah, even now people will see it from that prism. They think you have mismanaged their economy. That is how they understand it. And they say they don't hate you, but they love their country more.
You see, 1980s, we did not have systems that would enable you to say what you would like to say. I was there. I was there. I know that very well. You say it, you're finished. You disappear. You remember what was happening here during Amin's time?
But we have come full circle almost. Just yesterday, they were our space is shrinking. They're telling us now you cannot. In fact, freedom of expression is on trial in Uganda today.
I don't believe so. I don't want to go into politics tonight,
Yes.
but I don't believe so.
Well, tomorrow is World Press Freedom Day, and I'm sure most journalists will be talking about that. And we in Uganda, that we feel our space is
It's
shrinking.
being narrowed. No, you narrow. But you see, I don't know what you mean by narrowing, because in any society you must be organized. You must accept laws. If you move according to the law, who touches you? But if you want to do things out of the law, then there is chaos. And chaos with chaos, there is no freedom. Because eventually everybody now will be start to hunting one another. So we must be disciplined. We must do things in accordance with the laws. We must listen to our leaders, although we may disagree with them. In Uganda, there is room for disagreement, absolutely. There is room for disagreement. Absolutely. If I don't want something, you stand, you speak, newspapers are writing, even certain things like when I was accused by the certain papers of certain crimes which I never committed, I never picked up a gun or a stick or anything to beat them up. There is freedom of talk and expression
But
here.
you tell
But
that,
you must do
Honorable
it.
Minister,
Listen,
Honorable
listen,
Minister,
just
tell
hold
that
on,
to Dr.
Patrick.
Kiza Besje, who the other day could not hold a meeting in Kasese. Tell him to that when he was in Soroti and he could not meet his people, or in Kaliro. Tell it to Honorable Bobby Wine, who could not just even walk to police and respond to police summon. You know,
Kiza Besigye is the leader of which party?
He's a politician.
He's a
belonging to FDC.
No, I'm asking you, of which party? He's the leader of which party?
He was the flag bearer of FDC. You know that.
Had that been declared?
They have not chosen another flag bearer ever since. Yeah, he's a respectable politician in this country, and he cannot meet his people. Bobby Wine, and I'm bringing in this because in a way it affects our economy. Because when Ugandan, so we seem to be in chaos. People want to bring in money, foreign direct investment. People want to make their final investment decision. Can't say, hold on, should I get there?
I have said there are laws in Uganda under which we need to operate. If we don't operate according to law, then there is a chaos. That's what I can say. I don't want. Today I said I have basically come for economics.
Yeah, but you see,
I know politics affect economics,
yeah,
for sure. There's no question about that.
Because when
that one you invite me another time.
Yeah, because
Today I won't talk about the economy.
When you want to use the Chinese mode of politics and then you want to mix the American mode of economics, it's difficult. Because you do not want maybe people to express themselves, and then if they go to meet and you disperse them, and if you want investors to come, investors have to bring in money, and the money will develop the economy. It is so much related, sir, that you have to make sure you have done your politics right and you do your economics right. That's how a country can develop, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I'm not disputing economics.
So I'm not digressing at all.
No, you're not digressing, but I'm saying today I have not come for politics. I've come to talk about the economy. Next time you invite me, we shall
Yes,
talk about
but
politics.
don't you see the linkage?
I see the linkage, but
So how do I
no,
not
no, no,
talk
no.
about
I don't want to confuse the two things at the same time. You invite me here, and we shall talk politics. Absolutely, Patrick. I will give you my sincere opinion
as a
of view
minister,
how politics should be run.
Yes, you've just been meeting the World Bank officials in Washington, D.C., and probably you're also trying to woo investors to come. Isn't it of your concern that we should project the best of our image to the rest of the world as opposed to what we see? Because if you want to woo in investors, then we must be a country that seems to be in harmony and not harassing each other.
That is very true, and you remember I have often said that please let us minimize as possible, as much as possible, these areas of conflict, so that the country is not seen as if it is on fire or fighting each other. And but the only way that can be done is, first of all, to have respect for each other. Two, let me repeat the last time, that we do our things in accordance with the laws.
Okay, so this budget.
If the law is no good, then let's amend the law. If somebody feels that the law is either to fight, because the laws are made by human beings, and you know human beings are not perfect at all. If someone is aggrieved by a certain law, then come up with a proposal.
Unfortunately, you don't want to talk about politics, but you're staying there. The law, for example, the Public Order Management Act, is actually abused by the state and not by those who are seeking to hold rallies, for example. Because if the law tells them to inform police officials, it is not in the law for them even to stop. They should just be giving them some kind of protection, some guidance, and then they have their rallies, and then we wouldn't be having tear gas on our screens, and then everything will be okay. In my opinion, I've seen police officers who, or the state, has abused the law and not the other way around. And
well, individuals can make mistakes, but it's not government policy, as far as I'm aware. Individuals may make mistakes, for sure.
They have to be reprimanded.
Yes, they should. They should. Anybody who breaks the law, whoever you are, you should be reprimanded. Absolutely. I agree.
So if individuals mess up the laws or break the law, and there's a system, there's a government, then that government is responsible if nothing is done. Let me take you to an area that Ugandans were talking about. Recently, we appropriated 1.4 trillion shillings to invest, to an investor, to put up the Lubowa hospital. And many people are questioning, because when we said we were bringing youth on the show, they wanted to know, isn't this ironic? One would think that an investor should bring their own money, not to come here and then they ask us for the money, which is even not all that in much supply.
I think this matter is not understood. I might have to ask my colleague, the Minister for Health, to come and explain it, but as a finance man, the arrangement is as follows. First of all, what is the genesis? Where did the problem come? A government alone is spending something like $400 million per year for people to go to be treated abroad.
Medical tourism.
Medical tourism. And we said, but why should that money be spent? Can't we create a facility here? Then a good lady comes and says, yes, I can organize a system that will be able to deliver that type of project. So first of all, we go to the land in Ruboa, and two, she worked out a system with some financiers of how the project will be financed. And how is it going to be financed? We have agreed to be making payments at certain intervals, and these intervals will be covering the part of the project. For example, the first installment will be paid, I think, about 6 or 8 months after the starting of the work. And you pay only for what work has been done. Your engineer certifies that that work has been done. This is some kind of borrowing. There's no question about that. It's some kind of borrowing, because eventually you have to pay. That's to pay.
Then
That's
why didn't you go
why
for
we're
an open bidding system and then you get the best person to come instead of as if you're outsourcing and it's an individual and you're locked in a certain agreement? I don't understand. But why didn't you just say, this is what we need, and then people can bring in their bids and you take the best person or the best organization to build this hospital?
Well, I don't think that if you see, if it came the bid, then that would mean that I must have money upfront. No, I don't have need to money upfront. No, I would need money upfront. Mark my words carefully. Now, that good Samaritan came to help us. She has negotiated the money with some bankers and
the good Samaritan were paying 1.4 trillion shillings from our national kitty.
Yes,
that's a good Samaritan.
I couldn't afford to get that money to go. Then that means I would have either to stop some roads somewhere. But now I will continue doing my roads with the resources that I've got available, and yet that project at the same time it's moving.
You,
because that's
as
let me
renovated the National Referral Hospital.
Murago.
The women's hospital has been shunned by women, not because it's not good, but because they cannot afford.
Yes, I've heard about that. I've heard about that, but I cannot really give.
And now we're getting into another maybe equally even more expensive hospital, and yet we have one here. People are not going there because they can't afford. Now you're building something ultra modern. I mean, it will turn into another vanity project that is going to bleed our economy.
No, Patrick, that's not the case. The Murago facility for the women and the children, quite true, there are categories of people who cannot afford. But the minister is supposed to bring a proposal to cabinet of how do we cater for those people who cannot afford, and yet they must get a facility. In my view, the answer lies in medical insurance. If we got a medical insurance, then that problem would cease to happen. And we've been toying with this idea, but hopefully now my colleague will be able to bring this matter and we put it to frustration, so that if someone has saved little money, but he's being asked to pay a big bid, then the insurance will take care of that one.
So this 1.4 trillion shillings hospital, if you can just give us, maybe bring us to speed on at what level, where are you at now?
Oh, we've just concluded the signing the financing agreements. Parliament had to pronounce itself. That's why we said no. Although some people were saying no, this is not some kind of borrowing. Some of us insisted. We said no, we must go to Parliament. Parliament had to approve, and now we have signed. So now works should begin in a moment. But we signed the promissory notes, which would be paid as and when presented for the job of work.
You know, sometimes you sign and maybe borrow the money when you have not even understood. I'm giving the example for the roads, and before you know it, you find that the land has some encumbrance, or somebody is saying, I don't believe in this composition is too small. And I've been wondering, why is it that sometimes you sign and borrow money, yet you have not cleared all
the right of way.
The right of way. Yeah, why do you get that money? And then money is there, you are paying the interest, and the construction is not happening at all. Why would you go to get that money before you have the right of way?
That has been happening in the past, but not now. Not now. I will not go to borrow any money until and unless I'm assured that, first of all, I have the money for compensation. Because that money for compensation normally is worked out.
So as government, you have learned the hard way, your lesson.
Yeah, we have learned the hard way.
But in January, the president of this country, and I think you also attended, was commissioning or launching the start of the construction of the flyover from Entebbe Clock Tower to Ginger Road. The flyover. Yeah. They're supposed to be undertaken by the Japanese company.
Right.
And I'm told you signed the agreement, you launched everything. Almost 6 months down the road, not even a grader.
But it's
not even an earth mover there.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do really with the lack of the right of way. I think I haven't personally checked to find out. Maybe they are mobilizing. It's taking, you know,
But
mobilization.
you had to call the head of state to go and launch something and create an expectation that we're going to see maybe earth movers moving in. Half a year, nothing has happened in the heart of Kampala.
Yes, because you see, mobilizing a contractor to bring all of his equipment on board is not something
So
that.
then wait to launch it. Then wait to say now we're going to build. You can, when they are ready, then you can come. Because I can give you an example of a road that is so short, 21-kilometer stretch from Boyogerere to Busega.
Boyogerere to Busega.
I'm talking about the northern bypass.
Yes.
That has been moving at a snail speed. A snail speed.
That project has had problems. The biggest problem is compensation. Let me tell you the frustrations some of us are having in putting these projects into effect. The very day we said in our constitution that if governments wants to take on my land for a public purpose, I must be promptly compensated, and more tricky now, I must be adequately, mark the word, adequately. So that adequate has become
so you iron out all those grievances, those challenges, before you even go to borrow the money, because you'll make a loss. Because the money will be picking interest, you don't have right of way. The person who's the contractor is charging you because he has brought his machine on site. Every day he's charging you for his bulldozer that is there, and yet you don't have right of way. I mean, doesn't make sense.
I've told you that mistake was made, and now it is not going to be repeated.
Okay, Honorable Matia Kasaija, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'll open the lines. You'll see the numbers on the screen. Please call us and tell us what you think, how Uganda's economy is performing. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight is Honorable Matia Kasaija, the Minister of Finance, and we are discussing the performance of Uganda's economy. Let us now specifically look at the budget. I can see the figures that our budget estimates, I think if you finally give us what I've heard, is that it is moving from 32 trillion to almost 38 trillion Uganda shillings, growing by 6 trillion. I'm wondering, where are you going to get that extra 6 trillion now?
Well,
should we tighten the belt?
No, no. Tax collection is improving. We're getting people more compliant now. URA is getting more sophisticated in getting the right equipment, and sources of tax that we were not catching, we are now also catching them.
So what is our tax ratio to the GDP?
Now it is 14 point something, but we want it to come to 15 point something next financial year.
But still we are below. If you look at how the other countries in the region are.
We are still far. We are still far. Why
is that?
It's because many businesses and economic activities in Uganda are informal. Now, to catch all those people and bring them on the tax net has been a bit of a challenge. But with modern facilities now, that's going to be done for sure. And we are working very closely with the Uganda Revenue Authority. So
for you to grow the tax base, to increase the revenue, in other words, you'll also maybe bring more taxes, and so we should tighten our belts because you're going to tax us more. For you to get the 6 trillion extra.
No, not necessarily. In some cases, we'll definitely adjust. I think actually the tax bills are now before Parliament. In some cases, we'll adjust a little bit up, but in some cases, we're even dropping. But generally speaking, that economic activity has gone up, and therefore there are more sources of taxation now. That's why we are able to collect.
So are you going to put the money in productive areas or consumption areas? Because our budget seems to be more consumptive than.
No, Patrick, come on. You look at the budget very carefully. The amount of money we're spending on infrastructure, for example.
So is it, I mean, because you're putting money in the infrastructure, but that money is not going to come out tomorrow, the other year, or it will take a long time for you to see a return on that investment.
No. If you construct a road and you finish it over a period of 2-3 years, it begins to pay.
So tell me, the road from Hoima to Kaisotonia, what is it now giving us?
Well, that is a specific road targeted for the oil.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The money invested there, you're not expecting it now. You're expecting it in.
Of course, not all projects will produce the desired effect immediately, but some it is really almost instant. I can tell you that. Some roads are instant. You finish the road, you begin to see the economic activities increasing, and by that increase the economic activities, then we can have more
I've also seen some roads in regions I don't want to mention that are really nice looking and whatever, but you just go and find somebody is drying cassava on the road.
Now, drying cassava.
Is that the business?
No. That was
obviously
first of all, that was not the intended purpose, because we don't put up roads for people to dry cassava.
No, I've seen some of those cases. Very few cases.
No. I know. You don't have to tell me. I know even the road. I can even mention it. But that's a desire of somebody who is neighboring the road. But if you compare the amount of traffic that plows that area, if you look at the other economic activity, including the growing of that cassava and putting it on the road, because that by virtue that there is that good road, there is more market for the cassava. There is a good market because traders can access the area very easily, and therefore they can give a good price for the cassava to the farmer. But we don't put it there for the people to dry their cassava, but people have got their own ways of looking at things. What do? Let them dry the cassava as long as they are not an interference to traffic.
For example, vanilla and cocoa, I'm told, are almost like the new gold. If you help the farmers and give them more resources to grow more cocoa and vanilla in the Bundubujo area, with such a beautiful road from Fort Porto through Karugutu to Bundubujo, and empower those farmers, give them all what they need and produce, so that you have more trucks carrying cocoa and vanilla from down in Samuliki Valley into this other side. Then you know that the money you have put in that resource on that road, yes, then you are getting a serious return on that investment.
Well, there are two things for that road. For sure, you are right. We need to help our farmers in Bundubujo to concentrate on coffee. Vanilla, I'm not so sure, because the prices of vanilla, they are really very volatile. But cocoa, no, sure deal. But don't also forget that that road also leads us into Congo, our neighbors. It leads us into Congo, so businessmen will go and export things to Congo and go and trade in Congo, and that way we get revenue out of that.
I have taken trouble, not really trouble, because I've enjoyed the road. I've driven from Fort Porto going down into the valley, just
to enjoy yourself.
I'm in love with my country, so I want to see the beauty of that area. And you actually see one vehicle or two or three going, and I'm thinking, it's a good road, but it should be busier than it is.
But the question comes, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? In order for you to increase economic activities in Bundubujo and the areas even beyond into Congo, do you wait until the economic activities have increased? Then they will tell you, but how can we increase economic activities when we don't know how we market our products? So you put a facility.
The people there deserve more. They deserve better. That you've given them a road, but you also need to help them so that there can be economic activities, private and public, so that you can have a return on investment.
For sure. There's no question about that. And that's why we have got wealth creation. That's why we have got programs of youth and so forth. I agree with you entirely. That's why we have now decided to put extensions of officers, 2-3 per sub-county, so that the people are shown what to do. I agree.
Honorable Mathieu Kasaija, before we leave, I think Ugandans would want to hear from you, because you went into the national kitty, got some money, and bought aircrafts for Uganda Airlines.
That's right.
And now they're here. The Bombardiers are here, and maybe the other will also be coming in the next. But how much money will you be spending every year to run Uganda Airlines? Isn't that another vanity project that is going to bleed our economy?
I didn't come with the feasibility study here. Maybe we should ask my colleague, the Minister for Works, to come and explain the figures. Yes, it is not going to make. Again, let me give a background to why this decision was taken. Ugandans are spending about between 4 to 7 million US dollars on travel per annum. So we said, but why can't we have our own airlines so that although we will not, force everybody to travel Uganda Airlines, but we get a catch. 2, some airlines became rather, I remember when we were debating this in cabinet, when they come to Uganda, the ticket, the price of the ticket is almost twice. So we said, no, let's have our own airlines. Now, I don't expect the airline, because we have seen the feasibility study, that it will pay itself in 2, 3, 4 years. No, it will take a bit of time. But we think that by saving that money, then by also, another argument is, tourists want to come here from China, from America, from Britain, from wherever. Now somebody has to be flown either via Nairobi to here or via Kigali to here. We said if we put planes that would be, people know that if I board the plane in London, I will go straight in 8 hours, I will be in Entebbe. And then subsequently maybe I will be dropped wherever I want to go to whatever, the depot or whatever the case may be. We thought that was a logic way of doing things, and we don't want to continue donating money to other countries when we could afford.
So this is not just for prestigious purposes.
No.
It's real.
No.
Even though you will not make money for
we may not
time.
make money, yes, for some time.
I think that's because South African, apart from Ethiopian Airlines on the continent, I'm told, all of these national carriers are not making money. I'm sure when you're doing your benchmarking, you have seen that as a reality.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
still you went into it.
Yes, still we went into it. It's not for mere pride. It first of all also it advertises Uganda around the world. So it is mainly targeting that hemorrhage of foreign currency that we were donating to other countries, but also to help our tourism industry.
Okay, and lastly, my producer wanted to know, you are an MP, actually from Buyanja County,
Yes.
and we have learned that MPs are increasing their allowances due to the high cost of living. Why don't we do the same for other government workers like the army, the police, the teachers, and others? The high cost of living affects them too.
First of all, let me take this opportunity to greet my people of Buyanja. They are listening, by the way. We have a radio there and it's tuned to where you are here. So I greet you all, and I'll be coming maybe to pay visit, and we'll share some experiences very soon, maybe this coming weekend. Wages and salaries. We need really to, we've already started. We must harmonize in accordance to job, in accordance to responsibility, job content, responsibility. We need really to harmonize this. And the public service, Minister of Public Service are working on this. We should be able to come out with a solution. Now, for the MPs, what I draw, I don't think they have increased. I am an MP. I don't think they have increased salary. What they have
Allowances?
Yes, what they have done. No, and the allowances based on fuel. That's what I understand. I wasn't there. I was not. But my Minister of State, Honorable Bahati, and some other people have informed me that it is the question of the pump price of the fuel. That's all, as far as I'm aware. But not to say now our salaries have been increasing. No, And you know, MPs, we travel quite a lot. We should go to our constituency at least twice every month.
There was a promise that you are going to become a middle income status by 2020, which is only about 7 months away. Is that still your goal?
It is still our goal, but whether we shall achieve it or not is a bit tricky. It's like, for example,
are you now in doubt that that's not achievable?
We may not be able to achieve it because a number of things that we thought would happen have not happened. Projects that we thought would be implemented by that time have not been implemented. The oil we thought we should be getting out to by 20 has not come out yet.
You also said you'll be producing 20 million bags of coffee by 2020. Are you going to achieve that?
That one we may get close.
When you only got about 4 million bags about 2 years ago.
Oh yeah.
So you think in the next 2 years,
within two years,
in the next few months, you'll be 20 million bags of coffee?
Well, that's not only 4 months. We are talking about end of 20. So we still have a whole year.
But you realize that the targets you have been putting, you're finding it very difficult as government to achieve your targets.
On coffee? Yes, on coffee production. Yeah, that's true.
Coffee, middle income status, oil coming out of the ground and all these things.
Yeah, because there are challenges which are very difficult to foresee.
These challenges are not surmountable to you?
They're not surmountable, but they are there. I mean, take for example, for the oil, we all have been ready, but we have to look for an investor to do the pipeline.
Can you talk with certainty that oil this time around by 2023 will be out of the ground?
As I think so. I think so. Actually, I would be able to predict that one with almost a lot of accuracy if only I knew that the oil companies that are going to do the pipeline have made the final decision.
But that is not in your powers.
No,
that's not in your powers.
It's not my powers.
So they can delay that final investment decision as long as it can take, and then.
Absolutely. But I hope they should be.
And yet you have borrowed heavily, more or less mortgaging the oil in the ground, and yet the oil is not coming out.
No, we have not borrowed. What have we borrowed? We have not.
The money we've been borrowing.
The money for what?
Our debt now, we have borrowed to build infrastructure and all that. Yeah. The money we are borrowing.
Oh, I see. In order to get out the oil and then distribute it to where we.
Because it looks like we have, with all respect, you seem to have mortgaged our oil before it even comes out of the ground. When I look at the huge debt that we have.
But whether oil or not, apart from the oil roads. If you're talking about that, apart from what we call the oil roads, but the borrowing has been in other things which are not related to oil at all.
Yeah, so, but I'm thinking because you knew that you can borrow after a whole, or you have the oil resource, you'll be able to pay.
No, that was not that was not the way we're doing things. No. The ones maybe even the oil roads. I have never said anywhere that I am borrowing this money. The return will be coming out of the oil. No, we can get it.
Nobody has heard you say that.
Yeah.
But I'm imagining where you're going to get the money from.
No, we shall get the money through there are many sectors which are developing in the country. There are very many sectors. Next time you invite me, I will bring you my statistics for to show you how the sectors are growing and how they will be able to give me revenue to service these loans.
Our time is out. What's going to be your concluding remark to the people of Uganda tonight who are watching you?
My concluding remarks are two. One, let's do everything that is within our power to ensure that the stability of the country, security of person and the security of property is not tampered with. Two, I'm appealing to every Ugandan to look for some activity of some sort, be it manual, be it intellectual, that will occupy him or her to make an income. Maybe three, I would appeal to my fellow Ugandans that paying taxes is very noble. Please pay your taxes as and when they fall due. If you have problems in paying because for one reason your cash flow does not allow you, go to URA and get a negotiating agreement of how you sort it out. Finally, because we must make accountability to the population, the taxes, when we get them, let us spend them for the purpose for which they are allocated.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Matia Kasaija, Minister of Finance and Economic Development, and also Member of Parliament representing Buyanja County in Kibale District. Thank you very much. And all of you have been a part of this. Thank you for your company. And he said, please let us ensure security of person and security of property, paying your taxes, but also engaging in an economic activity is good for all of us. Thank you very much once again. Good night and God bless you guys.
Thank you.